With the announcement of a lot of movies from comic books, toy franchises, and of course, animation and, stuff like that, one of the avenues that desperately tries to get explored successfully is anime. Now, sometimes when a movie based on an anime is released, most of the time that movie is going to be anime. Most of the time the animation will be upped a little bit to be of a feature film quality. And usually it succeeds. It helps the movie out, it succeeds, the movie becomes financially good and more requested down the line. But there's also an avenue that gets explored, though, when it comes to anime being adapted into movies, that sometimes has proven to be less than successful. I mean, true, there have been a string of hits here and there, but of course the avenue I'm talking about that a lot of movie studios try to take anime down is the live action route. Now, like I said, some movies have proven to be a success. Some, most of the time, have not. Sometimes it all depends on whether or not the director knows exactly what they're doing or they don't know what they're doing. So, it all depends on who the director is and mostly who the screenwriter is and who's writing the script. And basically, what do they know about it? Now, sometimes people that get behind the script, basically the entire production staff, the directors, the script writers and all that, the storytellers, when it comes to an anime adaptation, they will do the research so that at least they could try to get it right enough for people to say, hey, that was a good movie. But sometimes they don't get it right enough and people will bomb the movie. Good examples are Dragon Ball and Last Airbender. These are animes, Americanized, and of course, long-term, one of the longest and most popular animes in Dragon Ball. Both were given live-action treatments. Unfortunately, they did not succeed. And now, you have Dragon Ball basically sticking to its roots again with theatrical films and doing an anime. But there's also the fact that sometimes the people behind the anime or the live action adaptation of the anime will try to get it right at least once. We all know that Ghost in the Shell is going to get a live action treatment. And we do know that, despite our vast opinions on it, Scarlett Johansson is going to be playing the main character. Now, if you watch Lucy, and I haven't watched Lucy yet, but I've heard some things about it. If you watch the Lucy movie, you kind of get the idea that maybe this is why they picked her out, and not just because of what she did in Avengers. So, despite how you feel about Scarlett Johansson being the lead character in Ghost in the Shell, the people that are behind it, from what I have read, want to give it the treatment that is worthy of the anime it's based off, worthy of the manga it's based off of. And then, of course, you got word that Voltron could be in the works, and hopefully that'll get a good adaptation. But then there comes an anime that I've been talking about a lot lately because of its 15 to 20 year anniversary, and that is YuGiOh. Now, we know certain animes like YuGiOh and Pokemon are best suited if they stay animated. But I look at YuGiOh, and I look at a movie that I think could really benefit from live action. I really do. Because when you look at the characters in the series, they're not distinctly Japanese. They have Americanized names. I mean, it is a Japanese company and all that, but, they have American names. They don't go by Enzu, and they don't go by Jogoto, and whatever his name is, or Hondo, or Honda. They don't do that. They go by the names that are given to them American-wise. And when I look at Yu-Gi-Oh, I look at a premise that could really work, especially when it benefits from the CGI and special effects that it could benefit from. I look at something along the lines of being like Beowulf, sort of like a hybrid of what Beowulf was, sort of like half animated, half live action. And I think it could really benefit from something like that in the long run. And you got a lot of stories you could work off of. You could, do live action adaptations or do theatrical adaptations of maybe some of the stories based off the manga, if you will. Or do some based off the arcs from the world-renowned version of Yu-Gi-Oh, or maybe even take some of the arcs, like I mentioned in a previous video, those filler arcs from Season 0 of Yu-Gi-Oh, kind of fill those out. Kind of use those. But whatever the case is, I think Yu-Gi-Oh could really benefit from a live-action feature, especially, like I said, with the technology that we have today. And I think, in a sense, that if done right, it could be a huge hit. It really could be. It could probably, if done right, be one of the best anime live-action adaptations of any anime franchise out there, or any manga out there. But again, it all depends exactly on, how it would be done, what studio would want to distribute it, who would want to get behind it. Now, again, like I said, there's so much of a vast variety out there of stories when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh that you could choose from any which one, and you could do a series of movies if successful. I look at something like the Hunger Games, and I look at Twilight, and I think, I look what they do with the effects there. I look what they did with the series of Harry Potter movies that they did that were based on the series of books. And like I said, I look what they're doing with Hunger Games. I've seen what they've done with Twilight, and I'm thinking, these are the kind of movies that prove something like Yu-Gi-Oh could be done right in live action, especially with the effects. And you got a story there. You got several stories you could work in with the characters themselves. You take a look at Taya and Yugi. You want to have a romantic plot. There you go. Perfect setting. Perfect romantic subplot right there. Love subplot, if you will, between Taya and Yugi. Have that get developed finally. Do the same with Mai and Joey. Go and explore these areas that never really get touched upon that much. And I guarantee you it will work. But then again, like I said, we got the stories. Like, what would work around it? How would you really do this? Well, if I'm a director, if I'm a screenwriter, if I'm a studio that wants to get behind this project, the first thing I'd want to do is establish the origin of how Yugi got the puzzle. I want to establish how he got it. I want to establish the history of behind the Millennium Puzzle as well as the Millennium Items. Kind of establish that and go from there. I'd want to create the origin so that not only are we firmly, for those people that are new to Yu-Gi-Oh, or just want to go see it just to see a good movie, I want to firmly establish who Yugi is, Taya is, Joey is, Tristan is, Mai, Seto. I'd want to establish who these characters are. I want to establish who they are. And you know what? If I'm the director, I'll throw in, something they wouldn't expect. Throw in Miho, Ribbon, if you will. Throw her in to the mix. Because nobody would see that coming. I mean, she was just supposed to be a one-shot character in the manga, and yet she became a main character in the Season 0 anime. Throw her in. Kind of mix things up a little bit. But I would start off by having a movie. If I wanted to plan to do a series of movies, I want to have it to where I establish who these characters are, establish the history behind the puzzle, why the Pharaoh's soul's in it. I'd want to establish the history of the Millennium Items, and then start building from there if I end up doing a series of movies. And I think it would work. I think people would be attracted to it. I think people would want to go and see another movie in the franchise. They'd want to go see it just for the fact that they want to know more about the characters, and they probably want to know more about the Millennium Items. And to me, that would really work. And if you want to, yeah, you could basically base it off the card game if you want to. You can have the duels in there. But to really kind of settle it into being a live action feature, of course, people are not going to want to see people go like, okay, I do this, okay, I do that, or I select this, or I select that. You're going to want to do more with that. And if I was to do a live action feature on Yu-Gi-Oh, I'd want to explore what's in the Magnas. I want to do the shadow game portion first, the Yami game. Introduce that maybe in the first film, and then as you get towards the end, maybe do a post-credit scene with Seto Kaiba and him inventing the Duel Monsters game that a lot of these shadow games are based off of. These Duel Monster things are based off of. Like doing the shadow game. Kind of developing the system. Maybe even do a post-credit scene with Maximilian Pegasus getting ready to do the tournament. And to me, doing something like that would definitely intrigue people to want to go and see the sequel, to see what would happen next. Now, as far as who you would cast in these roles, there's a variety of people you could cast, a variety of young actors and actresses that could benefit from being in these roles. The only question is who would fit them. Again, there's so many actors and actresses out there. It could be a who's who. But I think what the studio would have to do if a live action movie ever got made of Yu-Gi-Oh, what they would have to do casting wise is go with some virtual unknowns. Basically, they are known, but not totally like on a worldwide basis. But go with people that could really put a lot of heart and character into these characters. Bring in people that work on maybe televisions, like television dramas or comedies or whatever. Bring them in. Bring all these young actors and actresses in that could range from the 16 to 18-year-old range. Make that have that occur, and I guarantee you it would work. I really guarantee it would work. But again, it all depends from an actor and actress standpoint exactly who you could get. Who you could get to portray the parts of Yugi. Who could you get to portray the part of Taya, Mai, Joey, Ribbon, Tristan, Seto Kaiba, Maximilian Pegasus, Bakura. Who could you get to do all these? And that would be the interesting concept, because there's a lot of young actors and actresses out there. Twilight has proven that. Hunger Games has proven that. Divergent has proven that. Harry Potter has proven that. There's a lot of young actors and actresses out there that could benefit from this. Whether they be virtually unknown up-and-comers, they could really benefit. So, take a look what they're doing with X-Men Apocalypse. And the people that are going to be Cyclops, Jean, and Storm. I'm just saying. But to me, I think the time is indeed right to plan out a live-action Yu-Gi-Oh movie, especially with the technology that is out there now. And I think if done right, it could really succeed. So that's just my thoughts on it. Let me know what you guys think down below. Do you think the time is right for a live-action Yu-Gi-Oh movie? Who do you think studio-wise should get behind it? And what actors or actresses do you think could portray the characters correctly? And what stories do you think they should adapt? And do you think maybe they should start off with the origin first of all and explore the history of why the Pharaoh spirits in the Millennium Puzzle, the history of the Millennium Items, and establishing the characters? Let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like, and I'll talk to you all later.